Welcome every single person to a brand new year. If you are watching this on release date, wishing hopefully everyone a happy new year, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the big idea is that in today's video, you can really watch this whenever, the year starts, whether this is the beginning, the end, or the middle of the year. Because in today's video, what I really want to do is to reflect a little bit and talk a little bit about the failures that I really made over the years and about the lessons learned that hopefully you can maybe take away so you don't have to make the same exact mistakes when it comes to things related to life, such as like business, financially, being unemployed for a period of time, everything that I really learned during that time, from the businesses that I started to the struggles and difficulties that I had. Because at the end of the day, there was a very, very famous quote. I don't even know if it's a famous quote. It might have just been something that someone told me at a bar or something like that. But it basically goes that like a lot of times, while it is true that smart people learn from their mistakes, smarter people learn from the mistakes of others. So hopefully if you're able to take this as sort of several life lessons, maybe you don't have to necessarily make these mistakes as well, so that you can kind of carry forward for whatever you're trying to do. Whether you're trying to start a business, whether you're trying to build wealth, whether you're trying to get out of unemployment, survival, everything in that particular world, then today's video is going to be for you. So with that being said, let's just get this video started right on the spot. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, comment, feel free to comment anything. It's always just great to hear from you guys, even simple hellos. Subscribe and hit the bell for similar videos, or you can watch to the end to decide. And with that being said, let's get this video rolling and started. So I really just want to start by maybe just saying that this is probably one of the more important videos to really watch, even though I don't expect this to be a very hot video, because at the end of the day, and understandably so, not a lot of people like to talk about their failures, even though it's so important. At the end of the day, that's the reason why you will see so many YouTube videos talking about people's successes, such as like how I made $1 million, ... how I, successfully did a so-and-so with Shopify dropshipping and all sorts of different things. But you don't hear a lot of people talk about the failures, because a lot of times these are video topics that end up in the shadow. So that's why I think that they're very important, but just not as popular videos per se. But I figured I'd just get it out there. So the first lesson that I really learned is really about failing in my first business that I did. Now, failure is kind of a very subjective thing, but it's really about how important when it comes to business it is to do the math. And it's that because, and you definitely have to hear this out, is because I think a lot of times when it comes to business, many people, and I was very guilty about this as well, try to think about the theory of an idea that they want to start when it comes to something that can maybe revolutionize, bring value, help out the world. But what they don't really always think about is the math side to it. This is even more true if you are someone that maybe was very afraid or hated math, but even for people that loved math. Like, for example, math was actually admittedly one of my favorite subjects. Now, if you don't like math, this is even more true. But even if you do like math, there's a lot of people that will overlook the math side to business, really being able to calculate about like how much money they're making, what is the cost of different things. And I think that it's a very common mistake, because you will see a lot of people that start businesses and they might even have a very good idea, and it might even be an idea that's very popular. Think about the most perfect example is a lot of the apps that we use today. There are so many apps that we use today that are super popular, that everyone loves, that's very revolutionary, that helps out the world. But the problem is that because it's a free app and because they're not using advertisements or any way to monetize or anything like that, because of all of those reasons, it doesn't really make a lot of money. So because of that reason, you sort of end up in a case where you have such a great business idea, but that's not necessarily profitable. Similarly as well, you can sometimes have situations or maybe you have a really good business idea, but it's just way too expensive to run that particular business, that maybe after you actually physically calculate the math, it's maybe not necessarily beneficial or necessarily a good idea to pursue that business model, because it's just way too costly. This is actually especially true today because of the inflation situation with any business that involves a physical product. So anything such as like Shopify dropshipping, Amazon FBA, all of those product related businesses, it can be really difficult Because the problem is that it's very costly to run things like Facebook ads, to run things like, I don't know, Facebook ads, Amazon fees, and all sorts of different things. Especially true because when you're calculating the math, everything today is so expensive because of inflation, that at the end of the day, especially if you're running a business model that does not involve repeat clients, it may not necessarily be a good idea to pursue it. I know I made that mistake because earlier in 2023, I tried to experiment with starting a photography business, and I actually did make a good amount of money through it. So you can kind of say there was a little bit of success there. But the reason why it never led to long-term success was because when I calculated the math, unless you land a very high-profile client of some kind, and even then, because so much of this business in photography is a very one-off deal for most people, at least. I know there's like repeat clients, but for most people it's a very one-off deal. It's really difficult to sustain, and given about how expensive it is, it may even be more worth it in that situation to just pursue it as a hobby, and instead to just get a regular traditional job where it's a little bit more stress-free compared to running a business, and about the amount of high stress there is involved in it. So that's really just the second thing to really be able to share out there. Now, the second lesson that I really learned is something that's actually a lot more related to mental health, but especially because a lot of times when it comes to financial stress and all of these things, it's important to find a way to cope, whether this is related to financial difficulties, financial stress, unemployment, and it's really about the lesson about how important it is to always try to have a project of some kind so that you can keep busy. This is because especially a lot of times when you are working through things like entrepreneurship, surviving unemployment, financial difficulties, there's a lot of stress that's involved in starting this, in starting a lot of these projects or going through a lot of these things that happen. So I think that a lot of times one of the biggest things that has really helped me, at least when it comes to controlling things like mental health, has actually been trying to always have some kind of project or plan to pursue, because it's a very good distraction from a lot of the difficulties that we face in life. So whether you're trying to start a business, it's important to have multiple plans. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. When you are unemployed, it's important to keep yourself busy. When you are going through financial difficulties, it's important to continue learning and trying your best to kind of survive and grind through. The idea really is to always keep yourself super busy, because this is what's going to keep you productive. It's going to keep the momentum going, and it's just going to be something that's beneficial, in my personal opinion, for most people inside of their lives. So that's just something really quick and easy to put out there. And then the third and potential last thing, I guess, because I don't want to make this video way too long, lesson that I really learned in life is about the importance of acceptance and luck. And I've talked a lot about this before in the past, so definitely hear me out through with this. But it's that because a lot of times I think it's so important to understand in life, things are so difficult to predict and call sometimes, that sometimes in life, in fact, not even sometimes, many times in life, you can do everything you're told to do, everything right, but still have things ultimately end up going wrong. And feel free to share if you have any particular stories, because I know there are so many stories that exist out there that can be used as an example for this point. Is that because you will see a lot of people that maybe went to college, they did everything they were told, business, the same story, you know, they followed the same exact procedure, they listened to life coaches, they went to seminars, master classes, they did everything right, at least everything they were supposed to do, but still something fell through. You know, and I think that it's because of that reason, I think it's really important to understand that luck is a very huge part. I know that there's a lot of people that will say something like, ooh, I make my own luck and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, there's just so many things that you just cannot control in life. You know, for example, in my specific case, you know, some people may or may not know this. If you're brand new here, consider subscribing if you hopefully are finding value in this. But if you know me outside of, you know, doing this, I happen to work in the entertainment industry as well. And earlier last year in 2023, my industry went under strike. Everything was shut down. During the pandemic, similar story, you know, my industry was shut down. It wasn't just my industry, but there were so many industries during the pandemic that were basically closed or shut down because of what happened with, you know, all of the stuff that was going on in 2020 and 2021. anyone that worked in the service industry, restaurants were impacted, businesses were impacted, a lot of business models just could not happen. And these are just some examples of things that we just were totally out of control. There was nothing we could do. And this is just sometimes things that you just have to leave it to faith and luck, and just really leave it to acceptance, to just understand that sometimes it's not our fault. It sounds very, very corny, but I think it's just something that people have to sometimes hear, and not every single person really absorbs. But of course, beyond this is that there are just so many lessons I can share. I just really wanted to spread it out among these 3 lessons. So essentially, it's about how important it is to, understand that luck is involved. There's acceptance, and all of that stuff. That's really what I wanted to share in today's video. So if you guys made it to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well. Happy New Year if you're watching this on release date, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.